liberals, many of whom you're watching attacking Judge Kavanaugh and looking like fools, frankly, looking like fools. One of them will most likely be a candidate to run against your favorite of all time president, me. But I see the anger and the hatred. What are they doing? They're losing by doing it.
All right, there you see the President of the United States last night in Billings, Montana. He would like to see Jon Tester retired from the U.S. Senate. Pete Hegseth was there. He interviewed the president. And I think, Pete, one of the reasons that the president does not like Mr. Tester, who's currently a Democrat senator from Montana, is the fact that he would like more Republicans to have those jobs, but also the attack, the unfair attack, the president said, from Rear Admiral Ronnie Jackson when he was up for consideration for the VA job.
Oh, it's personal for the president as it pertains to Tester for what he did to Ronnie Jackson. We're going to get to that in the second clip. But first, the energy when he walked out into this interview was like the energy when he walks out right at first at the beginning of his rallies. So the crowd was fired up, and I got a chance to ask him about, will he talk to Bob Mueller? Is the government going to be shut down over the wall? And, of course, the NFL, with the NFL season starting last night. He was the president exclusively before his rally on those topics last night. Another issue this crowd is often fired up about is the wall, a commitment you've made. Washington hasn't been so good at that. There's another budget showdown coming up. Well, Congress hasn't been very good at funding that wall. You've got a budget showdown coming out this month. Would you shut down the government if wall funding is not included?
So we've started the wall. We've spent now close to $3.2 billion. We're in different parts of California. We're doing an 80-mile strip, but we are looking to get the rest of the funding. Here's the thing. I have a lot of great Republicans. We need Republicans elected in the midterms. We have to get Republicans. And we are getting the wall done, but I've had so many people, good people, great people, they'd rather not do it before. They'd rather do it right after the election. They don't want to do anything to upset the apple cart. And my inclination, if it was up to me, I'd shut down government over border security in a second. And I guess when you get right down to it is up to me. But I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt us or potentially hurt us, because I have a feeling that the Republicans are going to do very well. We have the strongest economy we've ever had. I think we're going to do really well in the midterms between the tax cuts and all of the other things we've done. So most likely I will not do that, but we're going to do it immediately after the election. I have the commitment from Mitch McConnell, from Paul Ryan, from everybody. We do it right after the election, where hopefully, frankly, it'll be easy because we'll have more Republicans, not less. We're doing very well in the Senate. And I think we're doing really very well in the House. We'll see how it comes out. It'll be an exciting day, I can tell you that. Nothing will be as exciting as our day almost 2 years ago. Can you imagine?
That's true.
Almost 2 years. So we're going to get the wall. We've already started the wall, and we'll continue onward.
Mr. President, tonight is the first NFL game. They don't have as many viewers as they used to have. But from Colin Kaepernick to the NFL to now Nike, who's going to win this cultural showdown of standing for the anthem?
We are. Honestly, I don't know what the NFL is doing. From what I understand, it's in contracts that you have to stand for the national anthem. In fact, they have somewhere it says you will stand, you will have the helmet on the ground and the hand on the heart. That's what it says. I don't know why they're not enforcing it. And in cases where they don't have it, you know, they had a new thing where they don't have to do that. You don't have to kneel. You can go back into the locker room. I think that's worse than kneeling in a certain way. You're going back in. That shows that you just have no respect for the anthem of the flag. I don't like what Nike did. I don't think it's appropriate what they did. I honor the flag. I honor our national anthem, and most of the people in this country feel the same way. They feel the same way.
One more quick question back to Washington. Rudy Giuliani just told the AP that you will not be answering any questions written or in person to the so-called special counsel. Can you confirm that?
Look, there was no collusion. Even in these crazy books, they don't talk about collusion. There was no collusion with Russia. I love this country. Now, if we get along with China, where we're doing very well in trade, do you notice what's happening? Do you see what's going on? And with Canada and with Mexico and with different places. But if we get along with China, if we get along with Russia, if we get along, just a little while ago, a very nice statement came out from North Korea. You probably saw that. By the way, you won't read that in the papers because when it's nice, they don't put it in. Kim Jong-un said very nice things. He said, we want to get denuclearization during the Trump administration. It just came out a little while ago. Nice, very nice. And I hope you heard what I said, because you don't read that in the fake news media. You just don't. I mean, they don't want to write that. They only want to write bad when it comes to us, and it's a shame. The level of unfairness and bias in the press is actually incredible. But in the meantime, we're winning, folks. Be happy, because we're winning. We're winning.
Steve, as you mentioned, a lot of national topics, but it all came back to that Senate race here in Montana. So my last question for the president was about Jon Tester, his treatment of Ronnie Jackson, and whether or not he really focuses on the VA. Listen. Last question. You're here in Montana for a reason. I have a feeling you would like to get rid of one Jon Tester and replace him with somebody else. The VA is a personal passion of mine.
Good.
What happened with Ronnie Jackson was a shame. Is that going to be a focus of your remarks?
Well, first of all, you have a new man, Matt. Do we love Matt? So Matt I mean, I know him so well here. He's been so successful. He's running for the Senate. And frankly, what Tester did to a phenomenal man, Admiral Ronnie Jackson, my doctor, he's an admiral, he's a doctor, he's like he's just a great person. And what they did to demean this man, and he held up because he's strong, but most people could never take it. Ronnie Jackson, we love you. It should never have happened, but what Senator Tester did and what he said that turned out to be false was incredible. And you see that in politics. People say things that are totally, they're doing that with Matt. They're saying bad stuff, and they figure, hey, we'll correct it after the election's over. Let me tell you, you have a winner here. He's going to win, and he's going to give us his votes, because Tester's never going to give us a vote. I know he did a commercial. I feel a little bit guilty, because he did a commercial today, and everyone's saying it's like a love letter to President Trump. That's because I won the state by many, many points. And so is that right? I mean, he did it's a love letter. I shouldn't say bad about him. The fact is, we're never going to get his vote. On the Second Amendment, if he can, he'd get rid of it. He'll follow Schumer. He'll follow Pelosi. He'll follow Maxine Waters. Okay? And the problem we have as a group, he will never, ever vote for us. He didn't vote for Judge Gorsuch, now Justice Gorsuch. He didn't vote for tax cuts. He didn't vote for the things that we need. So you need to elect our friend, and he's going to be a phenomenal senator. You got to vote against Tester. You got to vote. He will never, remember this. Remember this. In a way, I feel very guilty saying it, because I almost thought I made the commercial about me, and it was his commercial. But he'll never vote for us, and that's ultimately what's important. So stay with Matt. Be with Matt. I think he's leading in the polls right now. I saw a poll. He's 2 points up. You're going to have somebody that's going to be with us. He's going to vote for us, and he's going to be a great, great senator for your state. Great.
Senate race out here, it's going to be a bellwether. Yeah, it's going to be a bellwether race. Both sides think they can win it. Trump, of course, carried this state by 20 points. And Tester is running ads, making it look like he's been an ally of Trump as well. So
yeah, well, he voted against Neil Gorsuch, and he has not yet met with Brett Kavanaugh. I wonder if they're going to run that ad. All right, Pete, good work out there.
Great job.
Thank you very much. All right, meanwhile, come on.
All right, well, we are less than an hour away from the August jobs report as President Trump praises the booming economy. What can we expect from that report? Stuart Varney's on deck. Come on up, Stuart.
Hello, Stu.
Hi.
This. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today about getting vaccinated against whooping cough.
Well, in less than an hour, we're going to get the August jobs report.
Stuart Varney joins us with the preview. So what do you think?
The economy is booming, and we're going to get confirmation of that at 8:30 Eastern Time this morning with the very famous and important jobs numbers. Comes out the first Friday of every month.
What are they expecting?
I think we're going to see roughly 200,000 new jobs. That's quite a strong performance.
Right.
I think we may see the unemployment rate tick down to 3.8%. That would be a generational low. But perhaps more importantly, I think we're going to see wages tick up. I think the pace of wage gains is beginning to pick up. That's a very good sign for middle America.
I would love to see that number get out of the 60s into the 70s of those who are just not in the job market, have dropped off and have not gotten back in.
You will see that today. I'm pretty sure, 'cause you don't want to forecast numbers that are going to be released in 45 minutes' time, but I'm pretty sure you're going to see a lot of those people who are currently on the sidelines come into the labor force. Big deal.
You say America's the only game in town. We're the only ones that are seeing numbers like this.
As far as our economy is concerned and our stock market, we are the only game in town. All the way around the world, economies are stagnating and markets are falling.
Briefly, the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
His Whole Foods, the workers there want to unionize, and that is terrifying him because that would mean maybe Amazon would do the same.
Yes, Amazon is worried about this because they've got these workers at Whole Foods who want a raise, they want unionization. Does that spread over to their warehouse workers? There are far more warehouse workers, and that would put Amazon in a precarious, profitable position for their retail operation. By the way, Amazon stock, very high flyer. It's come down $100 a share in the last couple of days. Some investors
If you're a
are worried.
CEO, how do you prevent your folks from unionizing?
How do you prevent your folks from unionizing?
Can you?
Well,
Keep
you
them
can
happy.
mount a counter campaign, and Amazon is doing just that. Of course, you could also raise wages.
Yeah.
Right,
Give them
and they've
money.
been criticized for not.
Bernie Sanders is criticizing them heavily for not raising wages.
And
Thank
so
you,
is
Stuart.
Tucker Carlson.
Whatever you say, Brian.
Stuart, thank you.
Sure.
9 to noon, we're watching the show on FBN.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, thousands of runners are getting ready for the race for the cure, including our very own Jerry Willis. She is warming up live on Fox Square, and we're going to go talk to her next.
That's Melissa Francis, too.
Breast cancer.
And you know, the cause is personal for our friend Fox Business anchor Jerry Willis, who was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer in 2016.
But she's doing great now, and today she's leading the fight against the deadly disease. He'll be raising awareness at the race this weekend. Jerry and some other great people join us right now. including-
Yes! You like the team?
Yes,
Pretty
I like
good,
the team.
right? Yeah, we're going to be out there Sunday. Yeah, well,
You're
so
adorable.
any journalistic integrity I ever had is completely gone
Tell
now.
us about the Fox team.
So we have about 50 to 60 people, a little unclear. People keep joining in. It keeps getting bigger. We'll be meeting up in Central Park. The race starts at 9 a.m. on Sunday.
I'll be there.
8:15. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There's high energy when we do this race. It's a 5K, so it's 3.5 miles. You can run it. You can.
Melissa, you can
can do
pretend to be
that.
athletic. We got out here,
can still do
Melissa
that.
said I'm pretending to be athletic.
Can I take an Uber?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A bicycle.
No, you can
A
walk. You don't have to
helicopter.
run. We can walk, right?
That's right.
With
A
our
lot of
strollers.
people walk.
Right, and if people want to give to you and your team, how do we do it?
Here's how you do it. You go to KelmanNYC.org/Fox. That's how you give along with us. You want to participate with us, you live in the New York City, you can register on Sunday morning at the very last minute and go with us. Or if you live elsewhere, give money. Join
Please,
us.
please take her over the top. She has a goal.
That's
How
right.
are you as far as your goal?
We're A little over halfway there.
Okay.
And I have to say, our employer is matching the employees' contributions.
That's
so
awesome.
that is a very big deal.
Jerry, how did it change your life in 2016? How does it change you?
Well, I have to say, ultimately, it was positive rather than negative. I came to understand what was most important to me, my relationships with my family, my husband, all better because of this. And I know it sounds crazy, but good things can come out of a situation like that, out of tragedy.
What's your message?
And today I'm great. I just had my second annual mammogram, clear as a bell. So that's good news. I'm framing these and putting them in my office. Very excited.
What's your message to people out there that are having a hard time right now because you appreciate life in a new way?
That's right. Well, if you're out there and let's say you're afraid to go get the mammogram, you don't want to hear the answer, even the worst answer. Look, it may not be what you expect. The journey is always different. And if you are suffering right now, reach out to friends, reach out to family, find common in your neighborhood and community. You need support. You can't do it alone.
And Jerry, thanks so much. We'll be watching and running with you this weekend.
Thank you.
But meanwhile, thanks everybody.
Captain America's on your team back there.
Meanwhile, more Fox and Friends in just a moment.
Work hard to protect this tuchus.
To take care of any messy situations.
And put irritation in its place.
And if I can get comfortable keeping this tuchus safe and protected, you can get comfortable doing the same with yours.
Preparation H. Get comfortable with it.
Wireless for $15 a month. That's not right.
It's right, all right. Now carpet showers?
That's not right.
Kinda like your phone bill. Get Mint Mobile for just $15 a month. It's right, all right.
Over the past 12 years, I've ruled sometimes for the prosecution and sometimes for criminal defendants, sometimes for workers and sometimes for businesses. In each case, I have followed the law. If confirmed to the Supreme Court, I will keep an open mind in every case. I will always strive to preserve the Constitution of the United States and the American rule of law.
What is your message to the good people of Montana?
Our country, Pete, is doing better than it's ever done before. The markets are the highest. The jobs are the best.
As Liberal Senator Elizabeth Warren went on the attack.
If he's not able to do his job, then they should invoke the 25th Amendment.
The College of the Ozarks says it will choose its country over a company as it plans to strip athletes of Nike gear.
If you want to find sacrifice, you're more likely to find that in somebody that wears this nation's uniform, not somebody out on some athletic field that's making a lot of money.
What I've watched over the last couple of days was a bunch of people who want to be the nominee in 2020.
This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment.
It's sad.
I'll be the only president in history. They'll say, what a job he's done. By the way, we're impeaching him. But if it does happen, it's your fault because you didn't go out to vote. Okay? You didn't go out to vote.
Locash has been here.
Yep.
They didn't sing this song, but they've been in our studio.
They have indeed. They're singing country, and welcome to Fox and Friends, the #1 cable morning news show in this country.
Because of you.
Wait,
and we are grateful.
Like Romper Room, you can see the people. We can see who's watching right now.
Through the magic mirror.
Speaking of that, last night, Pete Hegseth, he went to Montana for the rally. And Pete, it was so cool because it looked like you were in a basketball arena and you were interviewing the athlete after he had won the game. It was so great that he allowed you to interview him in front of everyone.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was a unique experience, and you don't really know how to deal with the crowd reaction in the middle of an interview. You do have to stop when they're chanting "Build the Wall."
You paused
because
at all
they're
the
not
right
gonna hear you
spaces.
otherwise. We did the best we could to make it work, and certainly the crowd was enthusiastic. It was the first moment they had seen him. We asked him a lot of questions. We're going to bring a big part of the interview for the rest of the hour. But first, we talked about the New York Times. You see here they have the Billings Gazette, and the Billings Gazette said no punches pulled. But there was an op-ed in the New York Times that had a bit of a different perspective, as we all know, written anonymously. We had a chance to ask the first question to the president directly about that. This is what he had to say. Folks here may have seen an anonymous column written in the New York Times. And I think this audience would say that an attack on you is an attack on the people that voted for you.
Yeah.
Are you any closer to knowing who did it and what should be done if you find out who did it?
Well, number one, the Times should never have done that, because really what they've done is virtually, it's treason. You can call it a lot of things. But to think that you have somebody in all of the cabinet, so many people, as you know, they came forward, they're writing editorials. They're all saying, it's got to be at a fairly low level, because so many people today, I was just coming out, and I see all the people that are saying such great things. We have a lot of love in the administration. And the White House is truly, as you would say, a well-oiled machine. It is working so well. And, I heard you say yesterday, we have thousands of people that in theory could qualify. So they take one person out of thousands. But what's unfair, I don't mind when they write a book and they make lies, because it gets discredited. We just discredited the last one. We discredit all of them because it's lies. But I'll tell you, when somebody writes and you can't discredit because you have no idea who they are, usually you'll find out it's a background that was bad. It may not be a Republican. It may not be a conservative. It may be a deep state person that's been there a long time. You don't know where. It's a very unfair thing. But it's very unfair to our country and to the millions of people that voted really for us. They voted for us.
Guys, a lot more of the interview coming up later on in the hour, but anyone that thinks that enthusiasm has been dampened amongst his supporters needs to go to a rally like this. 10,000 packed in there last night, waiting for hours, just as excited as they've been for this president.
And Pete, you were very polite. You were asking with a hand microphone, and then when the president reached for the hand microphone, you didn't fight him. You just gave it to him.
What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
No
you
mic drop.
Fight him, so you.
You're
no
taught
way.
in school never give away your microphone, but when it's the president of the United States, you do.
I realized I'm done. Okay, here we go. Yep.
All right.
Thank you. Great job.
More with Pete and his interview with the president in front of 10,000 people out in Montana in about 20 minutes.
So over the last few days, Kavanaugh hearings have dominated this network and some of the others. And it started off initially by them saying, the Democrats, we don't have enough paperwork and this is too rushed. We don't want to be here. We're not voting for Brett Kavanaugh to begin with. And then they got back to business. So I thought to myself, that's in the rearview mirror. Nothing's going to happen on day two. They already made their stand. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah. Cory Booker, the night before, apparently wanted to release some of these committee confidential things, and he talked to Mike Lee, and we didn't know what had happened. So yesterday morning, Cory Booker was very specific in saying that essentially, I'm willing to be expelled from the U.S. Senate, but I'm going to release these classified documents. So as you watch that, keep in mind that's what he said, but actually he knew they had already been declassified.
I'm going to release the email about racial profiling, and I understand that the penalty comes with potential ousting from the Senate. And if Senator Cornyn believes that I violated Senate rules, I openly invite and accept the consequences. The emails that are being withheld from the public have nothing to do with national security.
Running for president is no excuse for violating the rules of the Senate or of the confidentiality of the documents that we are privy to.
Now, I appreciate the comments of my colleagues. This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment.
And if you remember, I Am Spartacus, in the 1960 movie with Kirk Douglas, the Romans wanted to know in that crowd who was Spartacus, and everybody else around Kirk Douglas said, well, I am Spartacus. So that's that moment.
Then you learn the
But
facts.
it doesn't really apply here, right? I mean, he's saying, I'm Spartacus. That means he's joining people if he's Spartacus, yet he's cavalier. He's a cowboy in this situation.
So he didn't even know what it meant. Is that what
it doesn't
you're saying?
seem
It doesn't
like it's
make
being
sense.
applied correctly. Spartacus has to be used correctly.
Okay, so let's just get this whole story straight. The emails are withheld because they're confidential. Then the committee decides they're not confidential anymore because folks like Cory Booker have said, we want to see these emails. We want you to release them to the public. So the night before Cory says that, the committee decides, okay, we're going to release these. They're not going to be confidential. Everyone on the committee got an email saying now they're not confidential. Then Cory, a few hours later, gets up there and says, I'm releasing these and I might lose my Senate seat and I don't care and I'm going to be Spartacus. But when you know the facts, they were already declassified. They were already non-confidential. Anyone could have released them.
Right, but you know what, Ainsley? That particular passage where he's standing up to Donald Trump's nominee will make a great 2020 I'm running for president commercial.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in fact, he was fundraising off his comments on day one.
I know.
I'm sure I'm going to finance this, but I actually think the public's smarter than that. Plus, he's got some people on the left that want to run against him, and they'll point out how wrong that moment actually was in the real world.
Well, it's been so obvious what's going on. If you look at the senators that are on that committee, the Democrats, the ones that want to run for office, they're just trying to get their questions in, and they're trying to look like the heroes for the Democratic Party. Kamala Harris, from day one, right out of the gate, Grassley was trying to talk, and she just stepped in there and said, interrupted him.
Her theme yesterday, Kamala Harris, was essentially trying to trap Brett Kavanaugh into saying that he has spoken to Krasowicz's law firm who represented the president, and he's been a long-time attorney to the president. And Kavanaugh was saying, I don't know who you're talking about.
Well, okay, also, this was what's interesting to me. When Cory Booker said, I'm going to release these, I want to say, what do they say?
Yeah.
What are they releasing?
What's
Maybe
the
the Republicans didn't want these emails released. What's the bombshell? There was no bombshell. The documents are about racial profiling after 9/11. And Kavanaugh, his recommendation was, he says, I want effective security measures that are race neutral for airports. I am against race-based remedies. He was against using racial profiling while working for the Bush administration when people were going through the security lines at airports.
So he was race neutral. There was no headline. There was no bombshell. It's interesting when you compare the fact that this man has been nominated by a Republican president as opposed to the last person who was nominated by a Democrat. And I'm talking about Mr. Kavanaugh and Elena Kagan, for instance, yesterday, where they both have said, look, I can't really talk about how I would rule because
it's premature.
It's the Ginsburg principle.
Right.
The New York Times yesterday put this headline up: Kavanaugh ducks question on presidential powers and subpoena. And the body of the story talked about how he was dodging direct questions. But when you flash back, it's completely different.
Yeah, the headline for the New York Times back in 2010, when Elena Kagan was going through the confirmation process, it says, Kagan follows precedent by offering few opinions.
So essentially the same tact, a little hypocrisy, right?
Right.
That's just traditional. Anytime there's a confirmation, because of Ginsburg, that is what they do. They don't answer questions specifically on how they would rule because it's premature and they're not
There's no litmus test.
Exactly.
And yesterday it was kind of cool. The Kavanaugh team that he coaches, the girls basketball team, they came and watched.
How cute was
kids came
that?
back. So it was kind of cool.
And when there were hecklers, they didn't even turn around. They just looked straight.
Right. He must be like, who are the kids in this situation? The hecklers or the kids?
It's Coach K, remember?
Absolutely. And keep in mind, too, we've already had 24 hours worth of testimony. The testimony today begins at 9:30, and who knows what's going to happen.
But from what we have seen so far, it looks as if he will be confirmed by the U.S.
And then they're done after this week. No more testifying, right?
Yeah, next week there'll be a vote, and then there's going to be a general vote.
So he can have a glass of wine this weekend and relax,
The
right?
heavy lifting was the last 2 days. All right.
All right, Jillian's over there. She has some headlines for us. Happy Friday.
A glass of wine or the bottle. I mean, after this week, right? This has been crazy.
Exactly.
All right, let's get you caught up on some serious news here. In a Fox News alert, a violent night for police nationwide. A deputy shot and another on the run over in Georgia. Police arresting this man you see right here, Nick Warnell, overnight. The condition of the officers is unknown. In Washington, a suspect arrested after shooting at police and taking hostages in a car dealership south of Tacoma. None of the 4 hostages were hurt. All officers are okay. The suspect, wearing body armor, believed to be shot by police before being arrested. A man allegedly revealing his plan to kill the president after being pulled over with 6 guns in his car. Utah deputies asking William Wheeler why he had the weapons when he said, quote, they need to fix the problem or I'm going to fix the problem. Officers determined the 56-year-old was drinking. He could face 10 years in prison if convicted. The CDC is investigating what caused passengers to get sick on 2 separate flights, both American Airlines planes landing in Philadelphia, carrying a total of 12 people with flu-like symptoms. One from Paris, the other from Germany. Health officials believe a flu outbreak is what caused nearly 100 people to fall ill on an Emirates Airlines flight from Dubai to New York earlier this week. Nearly a dozen of them were hospitalized. And the NFL season opener kicks off without protest during the national anthem. Philadelphia Eagles Michael Bennett and Jay Ajayi sat down just before the anthem wrapped up, but there was no kneeling. The Super Bowl champs hanging their new banner before kickoff against the Atlanta Falcons. My Eagles won the opener 18-12. I'm just surprised that, everyone in the control room has us airing this story so much. We've got a lot of Giants fans
It was
down
the
there.
only game, okay?
I think you are in charge of the news headlines. So.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's 13 minutes after the top of the hour, and you just heard the president's reaction to that anonymous New York Times op-ed. Well, up next, Geraldo Rivera's here with a message for that anonymous resistor.
Resistor.
Yeah.
And Tesla founder Elon Musk is lighting up the internet. The podcast interview that went up in some kind of smoke coming up.
Is he okay?
We'll be right here.